Welcome to Travel Matters, the official podcast of TBEXs, the community and global gathering of travel creatives since 2009. If you're a blogger, podcaster, YouTuber, Instagrammer, this is the podcast for you. This is Travel Matters. Here are your hosts, the radio vagabond Palle Bo and TBEX CEO Rick Calvert.
Welcome to the second episode of Travel Matters. Hi, Rick. How are you?
Good. Rested, relaxed, recuperated, ready to go again.
You were away for a few days after Billings?
I took 3 days to drive home from Billings.
Did you drive the same way home?
No, I took a different route. So on the way home, I drove over to Missoula, Montana the first day, and then went south through the Bitterroot Valley, which is through that west side of Montana, and then down into Idaho. And it's just a absolutely beautiful drive. I saw so much wildlife on the drive, deer everywhere. And then down into Utah, then through Nevada, and finally California.
Yeah, well, I've been driving a lot as well for the last 2 weeks. I'm in Denver now, so I drove south, but I took a huge detour. First, I went through Yellowstone, and then I went out to Devil's Tower and Mount Rushmore, and then headed south through Nebraska and Oklahoma and Texas, and then took Route 66 over all the way to Albuquerque and Utah, and did the Four Corners, and then made my way up into Colorado. So I took a huge detour, but I saw so much beautiful nature and interesting places as well.
You definitely took the scenic route. That's to get from Billings to Denver.
Oh yeah, and now I'm house sitting 2 weeks here in Denver, and plan to go out and see some of the beautiful nature here, because Colorado is stunning. I was in Rocky Mountains just before coming down here, so it's really, really beautiful here.
Yeah, I love Denver.
Yeah, the mile-high city. So, Rick, how did TBEX go? Seen from my side of the table, it was a great convention.
It went very well. Typically, it does. Our hosts in Billings were fantastic. They planned lots of great trips before the conference. And then our host, Montana State Tourist Board, had lots of great trips after the conference. We had parties every night, and there were a couple of sponsors that threw parties as well. And we had lots and lots of great educational sessions. I heard lots of really good comments about that. And then I think we had almost 3,000 speed networking meetings between the creators and the sponsors. And
that was in the room that we recorded most of our interviews. So we had the background buzz and of the interviews, that as you're going to hear later on in the coming episodes.
Yeah, you could definitely hear the buzz in the room.
But that just brings a certain atmosphere to it, I feel. Was it different than other TBEXs? Has it evolved over the years?
Everyone is different in some way, because every destination has its own personality to it, right? So this one was definitely Western, outdoorsy, adventure. So it definitely had that feel. And our crowd, this particular one, was the oldest it's ever been.
Oh, really?
Yeah, by far. And I think that also was because of the destination. It's just the type of destination that would draw an older group of attendees in general.
Do you have an average age of the attendees?
I haven't done that yet. I'll try and get you that, so we can plug that in here before this gets released. But I mean, just
we'll try to get it in the show notes.
I could just visibly notice, and again, they were some older people attending. And when I say older, 30s, 40s, 50s.
Okay, so I'm one of the really older.
Yeah, you're one of the old people. But they were new to the conference. So they might have been older people, but it was like the first TBEX they'd ever come to. So it was interesting.
Do you have any feel on how it was female, male? Is it kind of 50-50?
It's usually more like 55 or 60% female to male.
Yeah.
And and that was again the same this time. So and even in our speaker makeup, it was 36 female speakers to 16 men. Mm-hmm. And 3 of the 4 keynotes were women.
And there's a thing that you always do, that when you get your badge, you put stars on your badge on how many TBEXs you've been to. And I think I had 5 or 6. I don't really remember, but I saw a lot of people with just 1 star. So I get the feeling that there was a lot of newbies, first timers.
Yeah, and every year there's definitely people who are there for the first time, and then we have those people who've been there, 15 or 20 times, and there's quite a few of those as well.
And one of them with a lot of stars, that's Kerwin, and he actually hosted a pre-session before the opening session for newcomers and for people who were there for the first time. And even though I had more than 1 star on my badge, I sneaked in there and saw a room that was completely full. And right after his session, when you were getting ready to say welcome on the main stage, I went up to him and had a small chat with him. So let's hear that. TBEX North America here in Billings is just about to kick off, and I'm here with Kerwin. Hey, and there's a thing when you register here and you get to this, you put stars on your badge depending on how many TBEXs you've been to, and you're one of the people with most stars.
I have 17. This is my 17th TBEX.
Oh my God! So you're the best person to do this opening session or pre-session before it kicks off in a few minutes, and it's a session for first timers.
It is, and this morning we were actually full. I couldn't believe that all these people woke up to come here, but it was good. The key is to get them over the initial, I don't know anyone, and so I make them introduce themselves to each other.
So only people with 1 star allowed in this room?
No, actually anyone is allowed.
Okay.
And I found that other people have come over because they just have nothing to do. They get here early and they come in and sit.
So, but if you're at TBEX for the first time, what are some of your main advices you give to people?
Okay, so always make sure you sit next to a new person every time you go to a session.
It's all about the networking.
It's all about the networking. Always say hello to people. On the buses, everywhere, and just be nice to people. There is no reason for you to leave here with 0 contacts. If you do, then it really is your fault, because the TBEX has put together like 4 or 5 parties. They have all these pre-sessions and post-sessions, so you have a lot of opportunity to meet people.
Yeah, and one thing I learned after a few TBEXs is that I gather so many business cards and I can't put a face to them. Right. So what I've started doing is every time I get a business card, I take a photo, because also I lose them. I take a photo of it because then I can see when it was taken. Sometimes I even put the business card up to the face of the person.
Oh, good. Yeah, that's
you can use that next time.
That is actually really good. No, it's weird. I take pictures whenever someone to go, this is my last card. But my tip is that if you get a card, write something on the back. Yeah. Or you can even take a photo with them and tweet it, so at least you're connected that way. But the key is that the other thing too is LinkedIn. Lots of people don't use LinkedIn, and this morning I didn't get a chance to talk about LinkedIn. But the LinkedIn Find Nearby, if you set that up, and the weird
I didn't know that you
is,
could do that. I know that you can do it in Facebook, but I didn't know LinkedIn. Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so if everybody does Find Nearby, and I'm going to put something on the Facebook and try to get people to do it. So you go to the app, you click on all the 2 heads, and then you get a little thing that says Find Nearby, and then you click on that, and you initiate it, and then when you're walking by, it'll show you all the people who have it turned on. The weird thing is that you have to have it turned on. Mm-hmm. So you just have to tell people to turn it on, and then most people will, and you can connect that way.
Yeah, that's good advice. Having been to that many, what do you hope to pick up from this conference? Are you still learning?
I'm still learning. I'm always still learning. I'm always meeting really cool people. When you go to more and more TBEX, you end up, a lot of people want to meet you, as opposed to the other way around. So people try to get meetings with you, and I've actually seen that in this TBEX. I've gotten more meeting requests than people I've requested on, and so it's good. So I guess when people know you, they want to work with you, because that's the thing. It's like I've known you for a little while, and I want to work with you because I know you. You're a person. You're not just a name on a thing, and people like working with people. Rather than just a name.
Right. It's 5 minutes to 9, and the whole thing's about to kick off, so let's get over there.
You're listening to Travel Matters, the official podcast of TBEX.
So that was Kerwin. Do you have anything to add here, Rick?
Well, Kerwin does a good job of explaining a couple real key things to getting the most out of TBEX, or really any conference, but it's particularly true for that creator brand relationship, and that is building relationships. So when you come to TBEX, the thing that so many people tell me their first time is how friendly everybody is. And I mentioned this in one of the keynotes when I asked people if they're there because they love doing this. And the answer is yes. I mean, we all do this because we love it. And so when you're in a room full of people who love it as much as you do, it's easy to make really fast friends. Sometimes they're people that you've interacted with on social media, sometimes for years, and you meet them for the first time. Sometimes it's somebody you've never met, but you find out when you say hello, you've got so many things in common with them. Mm-hmm. And there's things you can learn from them, and vice versa. And then the other thing is, so you can meet those new people, but also build on the relationships you already have. Kerwin touched on that, how he gets more requests now to meet with him than people he's requesting, because people know him now.
Yeah.
And they want to work with him now. So you build that over time. And you have an opportunity when you come to TBEX to meet people face to face, to spend, the overused word, quality time with them, and develop a real lasting bond with people. And that's by far, when we do our attendee survey, it's the number one thing that people say they find the most valuable when coming to TBEX is the networking.
Yeah, and then being part of this community. I think I mentioned that in the first episode, that my first TBEX was a week into my life as a full-time traveler, and that was in Stockholm, and I didn't know anyone at all. And now I've... especially when I go to conference in Europe, I know a lot of people. But even over here, I know so many of the people, and make so many new friends. And I really feel what he said about meet new friends. And I think I can add 20, at least 20 good connections to my list of people that I'm friendly with. And I feel that this is also a business where we don't see each other as competitors. We're eager to help each other, because we're all learning, even though people that's been in the business for a while.
Absolutely. Again, that was a great point that he made, is to intentionally sit next to people you don't know, right? And just introduce yourself and ask them about themselves, and they'll tell you some about themselves, and the opportunity will come up for them to, you can tell them a little bit about you, and you'll find out very quickly that you have so many things in common with almost every person there, right? Even if you're a young blogger or an old blogger, if you are, adventure or you're luxury or anywhere in between, you'll find out that you have these things in common, that you love travel, and you have these common experiences. So it's so easy when you come to TBEX to come away with a lot of great new relationships. The other interesting thing that he said that I'm going to do it next time for sure, any event I go to in the future, I'm going to turn on that LinkedIn nearby.
Yeah, that is so awesome. I did that as well, and I've never heard about that. So that was a very, very good tip.
Absolutely.
Thank you for sharing Travel Matters with your friends and followers on social media. You're the best.
Okay, Rick, we did a lot of interviews, and one of the things that we want to do here on Travel Matters is feature a content creator. So we're sort of trying to have content creator of the month. Might even be one in every episode, who knows? But let's do the first one, and it's a great content creator called Lauren. Do you want to add anything about Lauren before we play the interview?
Well, it was great to see Lauren again. She's been to several TBEXs, and her blog is actually called Misadventures of an Outdoorsy Diva, and she has her blog that she's been doing. I think she says in this interview for it's about 6 years, something like that. And also, she started a podcast.
Hello, and welcome to the Outdoorsy Diva podcast. I'm your host, Lauren, the Outdoorsy Diva. Thanks for joining.
Which is only about a year old. But her podcast has really taken off. And so, again, the blog kind of lends itself. She's definitely an outdoor person. And again, it's an interesting trend that you see in travel creators is Lauren is a professional in her real job. And so she brings those skills to her blogging career. And so she really understands the business side of things from her previous work experience.
And now it's time for Creator of the Month.
So we are here with Lauren Gay, Outdoorsy Diva.
Hello.
How are you, Lauren?
I'm great. Nice to be here.
So, Lauren, you just mentioned as we sat down, this is your third TBEX.
Yes, it's my third time at TBEX North America. I haven't made it to Europe yet. Hopefully I will be there in the spring.
So tell us about Outdoorsy Diva. What is it?
So Outdoorsy Diva, the full blog name is actually Misadventures of an Outdoorsy Diva because nothing ever goes as planned. But Outdoorsy Diva is an adventure and travel blog where I talk about adventures, being adventurous, getting out of your comfort zone, travel, and obviously I have a love of the outdoors and nature. I'm also targeting and encouraging African Americans to get outside, get out of their comfort zones. I am a diversity in the outdoors proponent, so that is a large focus of the blog.
So, Lauren, I'm curious, you said a purpose of your blog was to get Black travelers out and going outdoors and doing adventurous stuff. Are there other bloggers like you trying to get them to do it too, or are you kind of alone?
There's a few. So after I got started, that's the great thing about social media. So you do kind of find your tribe.
Yeah.
And even finding Carol Kane, who's Dominican, we absolutely clicked right away, and because we had that in common. But are there a ton of us? Nope, there's not. But
it's a pretty small group.
It's getting to be more and more, and it's great to see. And what we're really trying to get brands to see is the value in it and how they have to be intentional about it in their marketing, in their strategy. It's my goal to go to more outdoor recreation specific type of conferences and venues,
like
to
outdoor
continue,
retailer.
Yep, to get that message out, because we have to see it for it to be attractive for us to come, because it's a misnomer that we don't hike or don't swim or don't kayak, because we do, just maybe not necessarily all the places that everybody else does, because we don't know about it. We don't know it exists.
And you also do a podcast.
I also do have a podcast.
So is that recorded outside as well?
The Outdoorsy Diva podcast has not been recorded outside yet. But I will be doing some recording this weekend when I visit Yellowstone before I go home. So I'm excited about that. That'll be a first time. And I talk about similar things that I've talked about before. I've highlighted Black travel business owners. Other brands as well, to have them on, and then I get to talk about the juicy behind the scenes stories from my adventures that I don't necessarily get to write about on the blog. So it's been fun. I love it. I love the podcasting. It's a whole different audience that I didn't even know I could have. Yeah. So it's been a great way to grow my brand.
I'm actually also going to the Yellowstone this weekend, recording my podcast outside, so we might be side by side out there.
I'm okay with that. There's bears.
How long have you been doing the blog, and now how long for the podcast?
So the blog officially started in 2013, but it was really a hobby. In earnest, for real, probably 2015 or so.
So 4 years.
4 good years. And I still work full-time. I'm not full-time at this yet, but I do now work remotely 100% of the time. So
you do?
I'm one step closer. And the podcast has only been a year. Okay. And I actually spoke at another conference, Florida BlogCon, about podcasting to a bunch of bloggers, and it was standing room only. Florida BlogCon in Orlando. It's a hyper local focused on the state, but it was standing room only. So everybody wants to know about this podcasting thing, and if I'm a blogger, should I do it? And the answer is maybe. Not everyone, but I told the truth about the growth, and it can be a beneficial tool, and it's definitely something that brands are interested in.
And actually, I spoke about this at TBEX Europe, that bloggers could go into podcasting and maybe attract a different audience that doesn't like to read.
That's exactly what I told them, is that it's for a completely different audience that's auditory. They will never read your blog. There's some people who aren't readers. Doesn't matter how great that content is, but you have people who have an hour commute in the morning and an hour home. They'll listen to your podcast for that. So it's a whole other audience we can get in front of. And I love it almost more than writing. Can't believe I said it out loud, but it's been fun. It's so much fun, and the response has what's just been a lot of fun.
So how big is the blog now?
It's growing. I've been trying to get on my SEO game like everybody else. So I have to say that shout out to Gemma and Laura, who've done TBEX before.
Did you take their course?
I took their course, and I've seen my traffic this year quadruple.
Wow. So you took their course at TBEX?
I heard about it from TBEX. I didn't take it there, and I bought it after and then joined their Facebook group and everything else.
Make traffic happen.
Make traffic happen, yeah. Yep. Shameless plug.
So by using, we're big fans of theirs, and I've heard several other people tell the same story, that by going to their class, either at TBEX or online, and then applying what you learned, that their traffic's doubled, tripled, quadrupled, 10 times.
Yep, it's true. It works.
So did you go and apply the SEO stuff to old blog posts?
Yep, that's exactly what I've been doing, is my old evergreen content. And then this morning, was another great session this afternoon, actually. And she talked about needing to delete that old content. You have to either redirect it or 410 it or unindex it, which I didn't know about. So I have homework, as always, from TBEX, leaving with things that you need to do to get better.
So are you specializing in any part of the world?
No, I'm not. I'm worldwide. I've go some of everywhere. The Azores is probably some of my best content because it's not super covered, and it's one of the places I had spent a week. So I got a lot of knowledge of, but I'm everywhere, but definitely a proponent of national parks and state parks. But yeah, I'm global.
Awesome. Maybe you can do what Gary's doing and go to every national park in North America.
I wish I had the time to go to every national park. I'll try to get to as many of them as I can, though. I have a personal goal of 2 new ones a year. So
two parks a year.
2 new national parks a year, and then I always end up at different state parks. So I just did Great Smoky Mountains Labor Day weekend.
Okay.
And Yellowstone tomorrow.
Yellowstone tomorrow.
This weekend, yeah.
Boom,
and are you hiking? You're camping? Are you glamping?
All of the above.
Okay.
Just depends on how much time I have. You know, I'm a glamping proponent. That's my thing. But I will camp, and I'll tent camp. Yellowstone is going to be way too cold. I'm car camping.
Yeah.
So
but maybe we should just explain what glamping is for the people who don't know.
Glamping is glamorous camping.
Yeah.
If you go to OutdoorsyDiva.com, I have lots of content on glamping and what it is. There's also a podcast episode dedicated to glamping, but it's glamorous camping, having creature comforts. You still get the elements of nature and the outdoors, but you have a bed and running water and electricity, most importantly.
I've never done it, but I've seen photos of it. Are you a glamping guy?
No, I'm a car camper and an outback camper. I don't want to see any people's faces
for the period of time that I'm camping.
You don't have to see any faces when you're glamping, though, depending on where you go. Conestoga Ranch in Utah, amazing glamping property set on Bear Lake up there. It's Caribbean of the Rockies. It's turquoise water, and it's beautiful and serene, and we really didn't see anybody else.
So how expensive is glamping compared to
a hotel?
Yeah, a hotel.
You have some places that'll be $59 a night to as astronomical as $300 to $400 a night. If you're talking the super safari tents like Paws Up or in Africa somewhere on a reserve, those are in the thousands a night. And you can use, sites like Glamping Hub is a good one to find sites to go glamping. Or you can take my recommendations.
So do you work with a lot of brands at Outdoorsy
I've worked
Diva?
with hundreds of brands at this point. Hundreds, I have. And a lot of them, I have to say, have initiated through TBEX.
Well, we love the plugs. So DMOs you're working with? Tour operators?
Some tour operators. More tourism bureaus probably than tour operators, I would say. Some gear. I have done a few gear.
Did you see the Red Ox gear that's here? That seems like it might be up your alley.
I didn't, but I will check them out.
Yeah.
I did go talk to the Go RVing folks, though. We got some fun ideas because I have a Facebook group, and people are asking me to kind of put some things together. So we'll see.
So when you're working with the brand, what are some of the things you look for? What's a good fit for you?
A good fit for me is obviously that it fits on board with my message, and it's very simple. It's in my name, Outdoorsy Diva. So something adventurous. It doesn't necessarily have to be outdoors, but it's out of the norm to get people out of their comfort zones. But I still have some element that makes it diva, whether it's a spa I can go to nearby or a winery, or it's glamping, or the accommodations are a little nicer than the norm. So it's that duality for women that we don't have to be one thing.
I'm thinking the thing that you have, this niche of being outdoorsy, is that something that you would recommend, or has it been restricting for you? Because sometimes you might want to be something that you want to talk about something that's indoorsy.
Which, and I do, because if my mantra is adventure is a lifestyle. So that's why, because I have a larger message, I'm talking about getting people to get out of their comfort zones and be adventurous. So I can talk about foodie adventures, right, and other types of adventures, and even cultural adventures, and still make it on brand. But I do recommend people having a niche when I talk to other newer bloggers, just because it's a big C and you need a differentiator.
Any parting words, Lauren, advice that you would give for an up-and-coming blogger?
My biggest advice would be do not ignore SEO. It is important, and Pinterest is your friend. Learn it. Use it.
You get a lot of traffic from Pinterest?
I used to get the majority of my traffic from Pinterest. Now that I'm focusing on SEO like I'm supposed to be, it is not the majority, but it's second.
So what do you post to Pinterest?
Everything. Every post that I have is going to link back to a blog post or a podcast episode, and I also put video.
But you tailor your images on your blog posts so they're Pinterest friendly?
I create a whole separate Pinterest-specific image just for Pinterest that's optimized for what Pinterest likes. And Pinterest likes video right now, so I'm doing more video pins as well.
I first found Pinterest several years ago, and I'd been in the blogging thing for a long time. I'd never heard of it. And my wife, then my girlfriend, showed it to me, and she's like addicted to Pinterest. Not as much as she used to be, but I'm like, I've never heard of this thing. And she showed it to me, and from that moment I realized how powerful Pinterest was with women in particular.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's become more powerful now with men too. But a common thread that I've heard from speakers, from other bloggers that get significant traffic, is that Pinterest is one of their primary traffic drivers, far more than Facebook or Twitter or any other social platform.
Far more. It's not even close.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
I have a Pinterest account, but I have not used it. I haven't made any pins or anything. but after hearing what she said, and it was also mentioned in a few of the sessions, it's definitely one of the things that I need to look into.
And as Lauren said in this interview, it used to be her number one source of traffic, and I've heard that from so many bloggers. Now it's her second, right? But it's still one of her top sources of traffic, and it's just started out being used so much more by women. And in the social media world, and I've been doing this for a really long time, when Twitter was this gigantic buzz, everybody talking about Twitter, and there were conferences for Twitter, which are all gone now. And it was just Twitter in the news every day, every day, every day. Pinterest had this gigantic, engaged following that nobody in the social media world was talking about. And they had, again, a massive, massive community of people sending real traffic to content creators. And not only is it a huge driver of traffic, it's sticky traffic. It's people that don't just come to your page and then leave. They, call that a bounce. They come to your page and they read or watch or listen to what you have because they've already self-identified on Pinterest. Hey, that's something I really like.
It's a good thing that I have so much spare time, so I have something to use. all the hours that I don't know what to do.
But you think of all the time. Again, the point is, you think of all the time people put into Twitter and Facebook, and maybe not into Pinterest. They should probably reevaluate that and
exactly.
Put a little bit more time and effort into Pinterest.
Yeah. So that's definitely something I'm going to look into, and hopefully I'll be more on Pinterest later because it seems like it's something that works.
Definitely.
But that was the first of many featured bloggers or content creators that we're going to feature on Travel Matters.
We'll also follow up this interview because there were a couple other questions I wanted to ask Lauren that I thought about after the interview, and we'll put that up in a blog post that we'll link to as well.
That's cool. On the closing night, I brought my microphone and talked to a few people, and one of them was Angie and Rachel. Angie, who was one of the speakers, and her sister Rachel. We were trying during the conference to find time to do a longer interview with Angie because she made some really interesting points in her session about how to work with brands. But we never managed to get the time for that. But we'll do that later. We'll certainly have a longer interview with Angie, but I met Angie and Rachel, her sister, at the closing party. So you'll hear some party noises in the background. And could you help me introduce who Angie is, because she's really interesting because she's been on both sides of the table.
Yeah. So Angie has been blogging now, I think, for 13 years. And again, I think she was at the very first TBEX ever. And before that, she was a PR professional with clients in the travel space. But again, travel's just something that she loved, and she was doing work with her clients with, again, bloggers at the time. When she started, everybody was a blogger. You weren't Instagrammers or YouTubers or any of that. And she liked it so much that she started putting more effort into her own site and became a creator herself, as she talks about in this interview. So Angie really, and she still does work with brands as a creator and to help them with influencer marketing, content marketing stuff. So she understands it from both sides of the table.
I'm Angie of angieaway.com, and this is my sister, Rachel. We run the Jet Sisters together, so it's a YouTube channel, video series that we shoot like a travel TV show.
Yeah, Angie's been blogging for 13 years, and 2 years ago, she said, hey, I'm really busy. Will you quit your job and travel with me? I said, yeah. So for the past 2 years, we've been doing that.
What's your biggest takeaway from this TBEX?
I'm really encouraged as somebody who has been going to TBEX since the very first one and somebody who's been speaking for many years here. I'm so encouraged at how many brands get it now. How many brands are like, I see that this is a job. I see that one blog post is more than a full day's work. I see that creating a video, TV, talk show actually takes a month worth of creation. Like, this is a job, we have expenses, and I'm just so encouraged that the brands here are on board and paying the people who do this professionally.
And you did an amazing talk. The stuff that you talked about in your talk, that was so unique.
And I have to tell you, I was so concerned, and I always am when I write about these kind of things, when I write about marketing and influencer marketing, because it's so polarizing. There's people that just absolutely hate influencers.
Especially the word.
The word sucks. I hate the word influencer, and I don't want to call myself that. But when you're talking about influencer marketing, you do have to label yourself as that, or else how is anybody going to find you? How are the brands going to search you on Google if you don't kind of label yourself that? So it's a double-edged sword. I don't want to call myself that. I'm a creator. I'm a creative person. I want to make travel content.
But what makes you unique, Angie, is that you worked on both sides of the table.
That's true. I'm one of the few who's done all the public relations campaigns since the beginning. I used to work in an agency. I was one of the first folks championing TBEX as a thing that brands should get involved with. I think I hosted, probably me and my clients and my agency hosted the very first brand-sponsored party for a TBEX. And it was, pulling teeth, trying to get brands involved in sponsoring something for bloggers. Because at that point we were like, don't they just want free shrimp? Like, we're not taking them anywhere. That's crazy. That's not real. And look, 10 years later, I do this for a living. I make a good living. I make a better living than I did when I was in public relations. That's bonkers to me, but I'm so excited. Like, it's so encouraging to be here. The energy is great. TBEX always gives me such a boost of confidence that we're doing things right. We're creating content people love. I'm excited.
Any regrets on quitting your job?
No, not at all.
Never.
It's been 2 years, and the thought of sitting behind a desk and doing copywriting for a company I didn't have any good relationship with sounds terrible. As soon as she said, can you quit your job? My 2 weeks were in that day. I was like, good luck, see you later. And my boss even said oh, you'll be back. And 2 years later,
you'll never be back.
No. 2 years later, we're doing the Jet Sisters. It's very successful. We're having the best time.
We love doing video.
Yeah.
To be able to make a show with your sister, that's a dream we've had since we're 12 years apart.
Yeah.
And that's a dream that we've had to work together our whole lives since she was in diapers.
No, literally, I was 4 years old, and this was our dream. And here I'm 20.
Diapers at 4 years old? That's so embarrassing.
Well, that's weird that you said it that way. No. Now I'm 26, and it's all happening exactly the way it's supposed to.
That we get to work together.
Angie wrote this great blog post called The 17 Essential Commandments of Influencer Marketing. And her talk at TBEX touches on this blog post, but it's something that every marketing and PR professional in travel should read. And they may not agree with everything that she says in this post, but it really gives you a good idea of how content creators view those relationships with brands, and it's definitely an excellent blog post that you should read. That kind of goes along with this interview.
Yeah, and we will make sure to put a link to this in the show notes. I feel that Angie is really one of the persons that is pushing this business in the right direction. I think she's so clever at what she does.
Exactly.
And that was about it for this episode of Travel Matters. In the next episode, the main part of that is going to be your interview with Michael Collins from travelmedia.ie. Can you say a little bit about who Michael is, what it is that they do, and what you're talking to him about?
Yeah, so Michael is one of the smartest people out there from the agency side when it comes to working with influencers and doing content marketing, influencer marketing, social media marketing. He spoke at the show numerous times. He's a great resource for us. He creates lots of content for us at the show with Leslie and the rest of the people on his team. But in this interview with Michael, which we'll hear in an upcoming episode, I ask him a lot of advice that he might have for his clients and DMOs and travel brands on how they should approach working with content creators and influencers. It's really, really good stuff.
So that was it for the second episode here in Travel Matters, and I hope that you liked it. And if you did, use your influence to share it in your network, so we can get more people listening to Travel Matters. So Rick, till next time.
We'll see you next time.
Bye bye.
You've been listening to Travel Matters, the official podcast of TBEX. This episode of Travel Matters was hosted by TBEX CEO Rick Calvert and radio vagabond Palle Bo, and produced by radioguru.co.uk.